Welcome to another episode of Ferrofan Focus. In this series, we're speaking with some of music's brightest pioneers and power players from all corners of the industry, bringing you the best advice and insights. Before we get started, I just want to give a quick shout out to Ferrofan. Ferrofan is a CRM built specifically for artists and the teams that support them. So make sure you head over to ferrofanmusic.com to learn more about how we're helping artists grow, understand and nurture their fan base, and how we can do the same for you. My colleague Sean recently spoke with Reach Records digital marketing manager, Shannon McNaughton. Shannon gives plenty of game in this conversation, from actionable content strategies to the current state of social media culture in 2025, and content rollout strategies for both pre-release and post-release from the perspective of her current role. So let's focus up and dive straight into the conversation.
Before we get into the fine tactics of some of the things you've learned and tried and seen that have worked, I just want to get your outlook on 2024, right? How was 2024 different than 2023 from your actual in the game experience? And then how do you think things are going to look going forward in 2025 based on that?
Yeah, totally. I think, as we all know, short form content went crazy in 2020, and we saw social media completely change. I don't think we've seen quite a big change since that time period, but there are a lot of things that have changed in the sense of how we need to move and how we need to engage social media. And I think the biggest thing that I'm seeing is there's so much content that exists out there. There's a lot of people that are content creators. There's a lot of people that have a platform. There's a lot of people that have a podcast. And so it's really, really difficult to cut through the noise unless you have a strategy and you have a message. Essentially, if you don't have, if every post isn't conveying some type of message or emotion, it's going to be really hard to get people to stay on that content, especially when it comes to short form, video content. So I think more than ever this year, I've been really energized in identifying with the people I'm working with. Okay, so we know we need to get promo out, right? We know we need to show this song, but what's the story that we're telling? What's the text on screen that we're using to help us, make it connect with the audience? Or what's the caption? Are we doing a more heartfelt caption? Or what are elements in the video that are engaging and exciting if somebody is just randomly popping up on your For You page and you don't know who it is? What's going to keep somebody there? And it comes down to, giving them an emotion, making them feel something. And so I think that's always been relevant. But now, since there is so much content that exists, it's more important than ever.
So just to get a little bit of clarity on strategy versus message, how do you separate them?
So a strategy, that is, your strategy is could be your content pillars, right? So it's going to be the thing that's your guiding point, essentially. Think of a brand guide. You're going to identify, okay, these are my content pillars. Within this, these are the messages that I want each post to have. So your strategy is going to be what you're looking at to essentially make sure that everything you're doing is falling in line with your brand. And then when it comes to your message, obviously that's going to be outlined in your strategy, whatever message you're trying to convey at the time. Yeah.
Got it. And the way you talked about it sounded as granular as I can have a post, but you're thinking about, well, how can I write text on the screen to convey a specific strategy, or a specific message on top of that as well? Can you give a hard example of maybe a post you've done at some period of time, or or whatever you can come up with?
Yeah. So I had the pleasure of working with Jackie Hill Perry on her EP release this past year. Really incredible music, and she has a very large platform, and then decided to pursue music. So she already had a fan base that existed, and I was kind of learning how we wanted to engage with that audience that already existed, but then also positioning her as an artist to people who have never seen her before or experienced her in the musical sense. So a lot of her songs were very lyrically heavy, very deep, very conscious hip hop. And so one of the posts that I did was it was just a very simple, like she was sitting down and performing one of her songs, Psalm 88. And the text that I put on screen was I think it was like, just give me 45 seconds of your time, or it was the length of the video. Just give me 45 seconds of your time. And that, for any person that is just like scrolling who saw that, they're like, oh, wait. And then eventually, like, if you're listening long enough, you're like, oh, wait, she's spitting bars. Like, she is going in. This is not just her singing about anything. Like, she is going in. And that video ended up doing super, super well organically. But then it also worked as an ad. Because once again, like, for the people who know her and love her, they're already going to stay. But it's the people who maybe don't know her yet that we don't know if they're going to stay for the whole video. And that really helped the watch time. I mean, that video had like much more of a watch time than any of the other content that we had posted in comparison.
I love that. That's one of my favorite tips when asking for a specific period of time. I give that tip to people. I feel like it's underutilized or not enough people even do it when I tell them to. But I first learned it in my experience when I used to do cold calls.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it might be 10 years ago now, but literally I'm calling you. Hey, can I just have 30 seconds of your time? And then
Yep.
try to convince them in that time to, make it 2 minutes or something.
Yep.
So, I mean,
Need to
and I think,
express urgency. Yeah.
right, exactly. Because mentally, they're thinking, hey, that's not that much of a load,
Yeah.
right? That's what you're tapping into. And although from my side, I would be literally trying to turn that 30 seconds, or sometimes I would say 60, but like into like 3 minutes and then
Yeah.
schedule like a like an hour long demo for the artist. You're just trying to make them say, hey, you're dope, and then decide to go look at your page or whatever else
Yeah.
that might be, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I'll give another example. Like, I also am a consumer of social media. I love social media. So I'm always looking at other artists and what they're doing. And I saw this one video clip, and it was very simple. It was a performance video. This artist was on tour, and the text on screen that they used was performing my new song, like whatever it was, for the first time. And it may not have been his first time actually performing it, but the response of just the audience in that moment was very emotional. So for him to add that text on screen that says that, it was just like, oh, like, I really love this song now. Like, like, people really felt something. And so it's like, even you can do this with all types of content, right? It doesn't just have to be performance, but like, what is the content you're getting at your shows that'll really connect with people? What's just you engaging with fellow artists or just fellow people? Like, what are ways that you can make that even more special and tell even more of a story that's in alignment with your brand by using these other elements such as caption and text on screen, whatever that might look like.
I love that. Perfect, perfect. I mean, those are super actionable. So
Yeah,
y'all right
I'm in
now
the
we can
weeds.
stop it and say like, hey, y'all have some stuff y'all can move forward with. But let's
Yeah.
switch subjects and get into posting for an artist, right? And I want to start on the more technical side or professional side. How does it work, or how do you have to think about serving an artist when it comes to suggesting and then posting? Like, what does that process or mentality look like? Because that's, again, like I told you before the call, I don't have
Yeah.
that experience at all where I'm posting for an artist.
Yeah, totally. I think there's an element of trust that has to be built. I think when it comes to ideas, specifically at Reach as a team, we're kind of all hands on deck when it comes to ideation. But it does come down to me communicating the idea and obviously getting buy-in. Um, so when it comes to posting for artists or even providing them the content to post, once again, like, trust is huge. And it's also just understanding the artist's brand, because if you send something to them that is whack, they're going to be like, oh, okay, like, you're going to lose an element of trust. And that's for anybody that you might be posting for. And so, yeah, I think it's really important to, once again, just have that trust, be really confident in your ideas that you're sharing, and be confident that they work. And then also, once you get a certain amount of posts that work, they're gonna, trust you. They're gonna be like, okay, I can trust her with my account. So that's that side of it. And then when it comes to actually like putting rollouts together, typically I will have a spreadsheet. I have a templated spreadsheet that I use for all the artists that I'll kind of plug in everything. And then I'm able to get that sent to them for approval. And then from there, we can go on and just execute. But for every single artist, it's going to be different, right? Because some artists are really excited about social media and they want to be posting and they want to be active on their platforms. And that allows me to, be more hands off, while other artists, maybe social media doesn't excite them as much. They know that they need to do it. And that's where I'll be a little more tapped in. And something that I've found too is, personally, hot take, I don't love scheduling services. I do feel like they can hurt you in the algorithm sometimes. And also, there's just a limit on the features that you're able to do. Once again, like text on screen, I want to make sure I'm including that, or I want to make sure I'm doing that in app, because it's helping you in the algorithm, right? So typically, when I'm posting or when they're posting, they are directly uploading it to each platform individually. And what I found is a lot of artists are just like, okay, TikTok is not my thing. You got TikTok, whatever you need to do, just cross post the content. And each platform is going to be treated differently. TikTok, there's a big emphasis on using the correct hashtags, making sure there's text on screen for everything. You want more organic content on there. So whenever I'm taking produced content and bringing it over to TikTok, I'm always trying to make sure there's some type of organic element to it. And it's not just a direct cross post, whereas something on Instagram that's more curated may work well there. It's not going to work that well on TikTok. So when it comes to posting there, just getting a lot more in the weeds.
Got you. So what about when you're posting on TikTok versus Instagram, and how you see the culture on both of those platforms in general?
Yeah, I always say that TikTok is out of pocket. So the stuff that's going to work there is more comedy, more skits, more just like random reposts of things that have been viral. I do love TikTok because it's heavily algorithm based, right? So there's a huge opportunity for you to expand your fan base on TikTok versus Instagram. And yeah, once again, it's an out-of-pocket platform, right? So anything that's more comedic is gonna perform better over there. Not to say you shouldn't cross-post everything, because you should, but you got to be a lot more creative on that platform. And I do think that it's not for everybody. Like I think that if Instagram is your thing, like, focus fully on that. And if you're able to cross post to TikTok, do it, because it's definitely worth it. But there's just some people that may not, I don't want to say not have the personality, but you just have to really figure out like what works for you. Social media does take up obviously a lot of time, but yeah, TikTok, it's a whole nother beast. And also, I think it also just changes a lot quicker. For example, like carousels popped out of nowhere, and it was like, okay, now we all got to do carousels, or like a trend will happen and it's like done in a week, right? Like things just pop up all the time. So with that platform, you got to be super active in order to, for the algorithm to notice you. And you just have to be a lot more tapped in on the internet in general, I feel like, than any other platform.
Do you think artists should pay attention to like viral trends and integrate themselves into it, or are you more, hey, just ignore it and try to figure out, your own brand?
I think it's important that everybody, once again, knows their own brand, because at the end of the day, I also think, a lot of the mental health crises that we're having right now are because of social media. And social media is it's very challenging, but with the challenges, there's so much opportunity. And something that I see it, that's successful is when artists understand their relationship to social media. So, for example, I had a conversation with somebody who's a podcaster who has a very large platform, and he mentioned that the way he engages with social media is he will spend like 2 hours a day, kind of like actively consuming, commenting, whatever, and then he has somebody else that's posting all of his content for him, right? So he's still on the platform, he's still engaging, but he's having somebody else do the actual like manual work of uploading everything that he has. So I think like you just really once again have to evaluate like where you're at with social media. Is it something you love? That's great. So then how do you lean in? Is it something that's maybe just a time thing for you? Okay, great. Then how can you bring in somebody to support you to help take the load off? I also find that artists are obviously very creative, so they have a lot of really great ideas, but maybe they may not understand what or how to present that idea on a social media platform, right? And that's where you can bring somebody else in to kind of help ideate who has the lens of just like what works on social media. So I think it's just figuring out, yeah, what your relationship to social media is and how you can make it successful, because social media is not going anywhere, and if you're not building, then yeah, like that's a problem. So yeah.
And what do you think about rollouts in terms of content? Is there a certain amount that you look to do before the project comes out, or do you not have to do it? Because I remember there was a period of time where there was a fair argument that, hey, you should never post anything before your song is out at all. I think that time has passed, and we can kind of talk about why. That I think both are options again. But what are your thoughts on that topic?
Yeah, I've heard also a lot of different opinions on this. I personally, I do really think that when you are teasing music early, like it's a win. If the music is good and you're teasing it early, it's only going to want people, to like want it more. So whenever it drops, people are going to be really excited for it. I think of like artists who are will leak things on SoundCloud or just do little snippets on their Instagram, and like their fans get so excited for it. So I think that there's an element of content that needs to be done before a rollout, just so you're able to tease the song, and get people excited. I also think with where we are in social media right now, people are really quick to pick up on what's promo. Like you can be in your face, but I think it's really important to be to maybe lean away from like out now type of you know promo, and that's where I think teasing is a win, because you can just say like, here's the song that I'm thinking about dropping, and people get really excited, whereas there's a stigma around like, go stream this song, like you're telling somebody what to do. I think like mentally people are just like not, they don't love that stuff anymore, and it's unfortunate, but that's why I think like pushing a song before it's out is really important. um in terms of your question, I think like batch content is the way to do it. Like try to knock out as much content as you can in the span of 1 to 2 days to make sure that you have everything that you need for your rollout, but then also anticipate needing to react to whatever conversation is happening. So yeah, like shoot all your performance content, shoot some of your organic content beforehand, so you have stuff, right? I know artist schedules are really busy, but then also like based on the conversation that's happening, you're going to eventually have to create more content to feed that conversation, right? Like what are comments that you can lean into, that you can respond to, that you may just have to create that piece of content on the spot. So I think it's a mix of both, but batch content has always been a win for us, and it's just really helpful when it comes to an artist who's touring, or there's a lot going on. Maybe they're in release cycle. They have many different things going on. It's always a win to be able to create all of that content at once.
Are you super hard on a certain amount of content per week?
So yes and no. Um, I actually, I used to be like post all the time, like get as much content out there as you can. But I think you should post as much content that you feel is quality and that you personally love. Like if you can only execute 2 great posts per week, then that's okay. Um, but ultimately the more the better. Once again, where we are with social media, there is so much content out there that you really have to make sure each post is intentional. And if you are not able to dedicate a ton of time to making really intentional posts, and that's when you would just bring down your number. Even the CEO of Instagram said the same thing. Like posting consistently obviously is very important, but I don't think it's one of those things where you have to be spamming Instagram 5 days a week in order to get your message across, right? Like if you have good posts, those posts are going to cut through the noise, and are going to impact you more than posting a million times.
Got you. Got you. Yeah, there was a time where that it was more of a strategy. I feel
Yeah,
like to post more.
yeah.
Um,
And I will say too, TikTok is different. I think like you really do need to be super consistent over there to truly win. So that's a different beast. And I would say in that case, you should be posting a lot more. Instagram, I'm just seeing really good quality content is gonna win. Yeah.
got you. So TikTok, you would say force daily or multiple
I would
times
say try
daily?
to post 4 to 5 times a week if possible. But the more the better. Yeah. And on Instagram, once again, like I think minimum 2 posts per week, but whatever you are able to execute and have the bandwidth for. And obviously, if you're in a release cycle, you're going to be needing to post more than you would if you were not in release cycle.
Got it. Now let's talk about post release. What are your favorite types of content to do for a song post release?
Mm, that's really good. Post release, anything that continues the conversation that is already happening on socials. Someone said that your Instagram comments is your next marketing strategy, and that will forever live in my mind because it's true. Your audience is going to tell you directly what they're looking for and what they want from you. So post release, I'll have a rollout and a schedule, but most of the time it's going to need to change based on the conversation that's happening or whatever is kind of going off. Like maybe there's a certain sound bite in a song that is doing better. So we need to pivot to posting content that is, using that sound bite or whatever it may be. So when it comes to post rollout, I mean, ideally you're able to have your content done in advance, but uh, it is helpful to be able to have time to create reactive content, whatever that may look like. I typically find just like organic content that's reactive does really, really well. Maybe it's, stitches aren't as popular anymore, but maybe it's a stitch to a video of someone using your song, or maybe an example would be like, okay, Jackie Hill Perry, someone commented about her bars and they want an explanation on that. So we ended up creating like a full long form lyric breakdown, and we were able to respond to those comments with that content. So once again, post release, all of the content you're making should be based on what you're seeing and what people are already saying about the music.
Beautiful, beautiful. So pre-release, this is where I can mastermind, really think about my brand and what I personally want to put out. And
Yeah,
then afterwards, it's how people are reacting to the things that I
exactly.
put out. Nice, nice.
Exactly.
Well, I think that's a beautiful way to end it, man. There's been so much like just hardcore, actionable advice from yours, which is why I love talking to you, because like you said, you are in the weeds.
Yeah.
So the things that artists hear from you, it's like I could literally just do on my next post versus this overall strategy that sometimes I think, especially artists who aren't at a certain level, can't really feel the benefit from or even utilize in general. So it's dope that you have been able to share this with us today. And Shannon, is there anything you want to leave people with before we hop up out of here?
Yeah, I would just say once again, know your relationship with socials, because that's gonna really allow you to identify what you're missing and what you might need. And while like socials can be really scary, be encouraged that it's not as hard as you think it's going to be. Once you learn to like engage with the platform, I think a lot of people are just scared to engage with it at all. And out of that fear, don't engage with it. So I would just say like social media is a great thing. Social media is, there's so many opportunities that come from it, and just lean in because once again, it's not going anywhere.
Marketing music as an artist isn't just about getting attention, it's about keeping it. Anyone can get lucky enough to go viral, but Forever Fan gives you the tools to build real, lasting connections. Instantly get access to a mini site that allows you to spotlight your unique brand to stand out from the rest. Use direct-to-fan management tools that allow you to understand who your fans are and where they are, so you can send curated texts and emails. And then create automated engagement campaigns that keep every fan feeling special, because Forever Fan continues to work for you 24/7 so you can make a good impression on current and future fans at all times. Your music deserves to be heard, and your fans deserve to feel connected from their first listen to forever.